Did you know that you can speak fluently in English with a limited vocabulary? I have many videos on my channel to help you expand your vocabulary because, of course, this is a priority. But you don't need to wait to start speaking until you learn more words. Today, you'll learn how to speak English fluently with a limited vocabulary. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started. First, let's define what speaking fluently is not. It's not speaking perfectly without mistakes. It's not speaking endlessly. It's not speaking like a native. It's not replacing everyday words with phrasal verbs, idioms, and advanced words. Fluency is communicating ideas clearly and smoothly. Fluency is the ability to manage conversations with confidence and ease. Now let's review some tips on how to speak fluently with a limited vocabulary. Tip number 1, focus on the words you know. I'm sure one of your goals is to expand your vocabulary, and I'm sure every day or every week you watch YouTube videos like mine to help you learn other ways to express yourself. But what about the words you already know? How often do you use those words? This is like filling your closet with new shirts every day, but never wearing any of them. This is wasted money, right? Wouldn't it make sense to wear the shirts you already own and only buy new shirts when you need them? The same is true for your vocabulary. Yes, expanding your vocabulary is important, but it's equally important to practice and use the words you already know but aren't regularly using. Your vocabulary will likely double just by using the words you've already learned in your daily speech. For your action step this week, write down 10 words you already know but aren't using. Make it your goal to practice and use these words in your daily speech. Tip number 2, use frameworks. I know many students lose their words when they speak. They can only provide very brief answers, or they can only offer a few words before hesitating. Learning a simple communications framework can solve all of these problems and help you communicate fluently and confidently. Let's say you're talking to someone and they ask you how your weekend was. You can simply say, "It was great," but that's a very short answer. Sure, you didn't make any grammar mistakes, but I'm sure you have more you want to say. Maybe you think you lack the words. But what if the problem isn't the lack of words? The problem is you lack a simple framework you can use to answer any question. One simple framework you can start using today is the PREP framework. Did you know that the word prep is the short form for the word prepare? Native speakers frequently use this in everyday speech. For example, I have to prep for the meeting tomorrow. The PREP framework will help you prepare for any conversation you have. PREP stands for point, reason, expand, point. Remember, someone started a conversation with you and said, "How was your weekend?" Now, you can answer using the PREP framework. Your point is the main answer. It was great. Now, you can expand on this by providing the reason. It was great. We relaxed and watched a movie at home. This is already a more fluent answer, and it uses very simple vocabulary that I'm sure you know. Let's keep going and expand on this answer. You can expand by providing more information or an example. Here you can simply state what movie you watched. Now you can say, "It was great. we relaxed and watched a movie at home. The movie was called Arthur the King, and it was about a man who found and rescued a stray dog while competing in a race abroad. I'm sure you agree that this answer sounds a lot more fluent than simply saying, "My weekend was great." And notice that I'm using very simple vocabulary that you likely already know. The final point in our framework is point. This is your conclusion. It's a final statement to end your answer. Here, it makes sense to provide a final statement either about the movie or the weekend overall. You can say, "It was an excellent movie and I recommend it." I'm sure you would feel very fluent and very confident if you provided this answer to a simple question like, "How was your weekend?" And remember, this uses simple B1 vocabulary you likely already know. You can absolutely replace some common words with more advanced words, or even keep expanding on your answer, but that isn't required to speak fluently. For your action step this week, practice answering questions using the PrEP framework. You can Google Random Question Generator for a website that will give you endless questions that you can use to practice the PrEP framework. Tip number 3, handling vocabulary gaps. When you have a limited vocabulary, you are going to be in a situation when you don't know a specific word, or you don't know how to answer a question. But did you know that native speakers experience these exact situations? My husband is very handy, which means he likes to fix and repair things around the home. He owns a lot of tools. I don't know the names of 90% of the tools he owns. When he talks about repairing something technical, I don't understand what he's explaining. Does that mean I'm not fluent in English? Does that mean I should spend my weekends learning vocabulary related to tools? I have no interest in learning this vocabulary because I don't need to know it. I can effectively communicate with my husband without knowing the vocabulary and without having in-depth knowledge on the topic. Just like you can communicate with your doctor, plumber, or lawyer in your native language without knowing the same terminology they know or without having the same expertise they have. When you don't know the name of something, describe it. Kevin asks me to pass him the green tube sitting on the toolbox instead of using the specific name for that green tube, because he knows that I don't know what it's called. If you're talking to a doctor, you might ask about the machine that monitors your heart rate rather than saying the name of that machine. If you're at a store, you might ask if they sell something to protect you from the rain if you can't remember the word for umbrella. If you're ordering a dessert at a restaurant and you don't know what it's called, you can say, "The one with a strawberry on top on the third shelf." Native speakers do this regularly, and you can too. For your action step this week, once a day, look around any room you're in and practice describing objects using the vocabulary you know instead of using the name of that object. This will also give you the chance to practice using words you already know but don't frequently use, like adjectives. Tip number 4, handling knowledge gaps. When Kevin's not fixing things around the house, he builds complex computer algorithms. I have no technical knowledge in this area, and I can't discuss the topic at the level he can. But I can have long conversations with Kevin about his work by using simple strategies. I ask questions instead of sharing information. I'm honest about not understanding something, and I ask him to explain it another way. I change the topic when I've had enough. You can have amazing conversations with people by asking questions based on the conversation. When Kevin says he made some sort of change to the code he's working on, I ask him simple questions. Was it a difficult change? How long did it take? Is it working now? Why did you need to make that change? Do you have to make any other changes? Notice that my questions are very basic and don't require specialized knowledge or vocabulary. Now, Kevin frequently uses very complex terminology to talk about his work, and I ask him to explain it another way or to give me an example to help me understand. He's happy to do this. And remember, you can always change the conversation to something you do feel confident discussing. When I've had enough computer talk, I'll make a final comment and then change the topic. I might say, I'm so glad your code is working now. That's great. Do you want to go for a walk after dinner? For your action step this week, think about any conversations you had or heard in any language and practice asking questions in English based on that past conversation. And also practice ending the conversation and changing topics in a polite and natural way. As you can see, yes, you can speak fluently in English with a limited vocabulary. Of course, I understand you want to expand your vocabulary, so make sure you watch this lesson right now.